There's just something about this opening song that really reminds me of just anime from the early 2000s. It really just, it brings me back. It does. It really does. Because before I ever thought YouTube was ever going to be a thing, before I ever decided to even really discuss anime with anyone, I remember watching countless romances, just watching just a bunch of anime, and seeing an opening song like this just brings me back to my childhood. Brings me back to when I first discovered anime and first started watching so much series, like so many series that I can't even begin to count them all. And it just, I like that. I like how this series makes me feel, or at the very least, the opening song makes me feel. It makes me feel like a kid again, and I appreciate that. And I think it's probably one of the best ways to really just dedicate this to the original fans of the series, because let's be honest here with everybody. Most of the people jumping on Fruits Basket 2019 is just the original fans. There's probably going to be very few newcomers to this series. Like, I'm probably a very rare exception. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, Fruits Basket is such a well-known, iconic series that most people are just going to be watching this because they love the series and they just want to see it updated with new animation art, and they want to see the actual manga get a proper anime adaptation. So having the opening song kind of dedicated to the early 2000s or whatever, like feel of anime, I think it's perfect. It's just, it really fits the tone of what this series is about and the era it came out in. So I think overall, in terms of opening song, this is probably the opening song that's the most fit to go with this series. But I want to talk about a few things. So it was revealed to me that apparently this anime is going to be like 24 episodes. Now, I have been told that this is going to apparently be adapting 23 volumes from the manga. For instance, the manga is only 23 volumes long, and thinking about how much content is within 23 volumes, there's no way they can properly fit all of the content of the manga into a 24 episode series. And I have been told that the only reason why this is being done like it is because they want to do a proper adaptation from the manga. So if that is really the case, then if it's true it's going to be 24 episodes, I highly doubt we're going to get the entire story in the first 24 episodes. I have a feeling that we're going to get a season 2. Because there's just no way 23 volumes worth of content can be smashed into 24 episodes. It's not happening. And to put in perspective, in case you don't understand how ridiculously long that is, how crazy it would be to smash all that together in a 24 episode series, My Hero Academia, it's currently 20 volumes, okay? And it's only adapted 14 volumes, maybe 15 out of its 3 seasons. Yeah, that's the thing here, is that there's going to be a season 2. There's just no way that we're going to just get everything in the first season. So, I don't know what cliffhanger we would get, because anime fans will know, they must know where cliffhangers could potentially be, but it's probably going to be a nasty cliffhanger. But, okay, let's get into the actual content and how I felt about this episode. So, Fruits Basket, 2019, Episode 2. As a reminder, I am a newcomer. I am someone that has never seen the original. I have never seen the manga. I've never seen the original anime. I've only just known certain things about the series because of just how old the series is and how it's been recommended to me a lot. And it's always been on my list to watch even before I ever decided to do YouTube. I've always saw it, always glanced at it when I, constantly watched or read romance series, while my time of just browsing through stuff I enjoy. So it's always been on my radar. And I finally am able to give this series a chance. And like I said in my first impressions, I'm not going to be incredibly biased. Like, if there's some certain cliches or tropes that you normally see in a romance, I'm not really going to fault this series for that, because, once again, this is such an old series that it kind of set the bar and everything and marked the way, or paved the way, correction, for this type of genre. So, I'm not going to be that harsh on those type of elements to the show. In fact, I am very impressed with how quickly some of the conflict got settled throughout this second episode. Majority of series, especially since this is trying to adapt the manga properly, majority of manga in general would lengthen that conflict between Kyo and, Toru or Honda. I think that's one of their names. I think it's Toru. And basically, you would try to lengthen that conflict to last maybe 5 chapters, maybe 3 or minimum, I guess, 3 chapters. And seeing how it was all settled in one episode makes me very happy, because number one, it means that the series isn't trying to have forced melodrama or just petty conflict. When we do have conflict, it's probably going to matter. And I do sense one of the major parts or pieces of conflict that will happen in the future is probably going to be something to do with Toru and her memories. For instance, being hypnotized to where she forgets everything. I feel like that's going to have a big part to play in the series. It's something that is very typical in this type of genre, especially when something like that's introduced, but obviously from what was stated by, Rat himself, he basically stated that it's not where they're removing the memories, they're just making it suppressed. So the memories technically could come back. They're not necessarily completely gone. So even if Toru's memories are erased or suppressed, they could come back. So that is, a light at the end of the tunnel. And so we do know that there is an answer to this type of conflict if it does happen. But getting back on topic, though, the conflict between Kyo and Toru handled very quickly, and I have to say, compliments. Just major compliments to the series, because honestly, I'm glad that we just got the entire character introduction of Kyo. That's what this episode was about, and kind of how his role is within the family, and how he's gonna fit in. And since, Toru herself even stated that she, doesn't no longer want to be a dog, she wants to be a cat, it makes sense why, she would try to make it up to him, and try to, fit in and talk with him. So, this is a great episode. It really just goes to expand upon Toru's character, but also Kyo as well, his characterization, how he was trying to change and not let his anger or his aggressiveness get control of him and ruin relationships that he could potentially have. For instance, Toru and him. Now, speaking of which, I do think that Kyo as a character, he really fits the role of a male tsundere. I have to say, I don't know really how old this series is. I was told in the comment section last week that it's a hell of a lot older than I thought it was. So, I don't really know exactly the date of how old this is, but if it really is as old as many were telling me in the comment section last week, then I want to assume that this might be one of the few rare cases, or the first cases we saw of maybe a male tsundere. It's very rare to see something like that, and seeing a male tsundere displayed like Kyo and be so well done, I'm pretty impressed by Fruits Basket. And I don't know necessarily if the mangaka is a female or male. I'm assuming a female. I have to give, props to a male tsundere that is properly given characterization and just not annoying or just a typical tsundere. He was able to overcome his issues and become a little bit daring instead of soon like you normally see from these type of character types. Which also, one of the big things about this episode is that it's not just about Kyo. It's also about Rat and how he is someone, I think his name is Yuki actually. Yuki is someone that has his own problems of being like a zodiac, or someone that's like possessed by a rat spirit. He, in the past, had some issues. He obviously had a group of friends, a circle of friends that he, hanged out with, and because of that, eventually his secret was exposed. Now, obviously, from Toru's character introduction, she's not a typical person. She's not. She's a very weird person. She's an oddball. And for her to just willingly accept all of these characters, like the Zodiacs, like existing, it's not something you would normally see. And so, Honda/Toru, she's a rare exception. While the kids that Yuki was around, they reacted in a very typical manner. They were scared, they thought, he was disgusting, whatever, they just didn't want to be around him. And eventually, because of that, their memories had to be removed / suppressed. And he went to talk to this person, I think, called Akito, is like, what's wrong about me? Am I weird? And then Akito's like, you are weird, you're a freak and all that, people will think you're disgusting. And it's just a very messed up thing to say, especially to someone Yuki at his age, someone that's really just trying to come to terms with how he's definitely different from a normal child. And seeing how he's constantly felt like that negative about himself, that he's disgusting and weird, could definitely affect his mentality. He has a lot of weight on his shoulders, and this is probably just a starting point to maybe all the weight on all of these characters' shoulders. For instance, Kyo has his own issues, obviously, and it's very apparent from that little scene when he was turned into a cat and he realized he, upset Toru and he needed to apologize, and he's in cat form. He looks down at his, bracelet that was on his arm. And I'm going to assume that bracelet has a lot of significance to his past. I don't know exactly what, but it's very apparent that that bracelet is very important to him. And either it's related to his mother, maybe a family member, or just a friend that maybe forgot about him. For instance, whatever happened with Yuki. And that could explain maybe why Yuki and him have such anger with each other, is because with Yuki being found out, it might have ruined Kyo's relationship with someone else, because they would realize that he was a cat too, or a spirit. So I think maybe that's one of the other reasons why he might be a little bit upset with Rat, is because he lost his friends, and that bracelet probably reminds him of his friend that he lost. So yeah, I think overall, this family has a lot going on. There's definitely some sad undertones. It's not just a happy-go-lucky series, in which that's what the series would make you believe. When you first look at the first episode, and this episode, it makes you believe that it is kind of like a happy episode. Despite the conflict, it makes you assume it's going to be fluffy, but it's very obvious that is not the case. There is so much more going on here behind the scenes that we don't even know about, that I'm kind of curious to see. And I'm curious to see how the conflict will be settled in the upcoming episodes. So, what else is there left to really get into? I guess one of the big things is, what is Akito? Is Akito a spirit? Or is, Akito something else? I don't really know. It seems like Akito has a lot of power in this group, this family, and so Akito might be their mother or something, because it's obvious that she's probably a female, I'm assuming, so I'm assuming Akito is someone definitely maybe different than, Kyo, Yuki, and Shigure, I think that's his name. She's obviously different. I just don't know why or how. But we do know that apparently Akito could potentially remove someone's memory, so that is definitely different. Very supernatural-ish compared to the Zodiacs, because from what was revealed from, the family, is that they, even though they could turn into spirits, they actually cannot do anything too crazy. For instance, the only thing they really can do is communicate with their fellow species. For instance, Kyo can communicate with cats, Yuki can communicate with rats, etc., etc. So, they don't really have any special powers, besides certain features of, I'm assuming, the animal, because you see Kyo jump out a window and he lands on all fours, which is very reminiscent of a cat. So, I think they don't really have any, crazy powers. So, what is Akito? Is Akito a Zodiac or something else? Hopefully we find out very soon. But I think that's about it. It's a great episode, like I said. I want more of it, and I'm very thankful to be able to watch this series for the first time and see how good it is, and see why so many has constantly recommended this series to me for years now. So with that, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.